already been told no.
I wondered if you'd say yes, Ross, because you're such a fine fellow.
Well, I'm not
You
denying
are a
you're a
fine
fine
fella.
fella.
And I don't quite understand why there's no report in the annual report document.
Well, because it wasn't submitted.
Yes, I was going to say that. Now that we can't do anything about.
Well,
But you've been here downstairs all this time.
wonderful visits.
Good. That will matter
So
more.
I just,
I said that will actually matter
Ross,
more.
could you not have that stuff on that?
Oh yeah, on my
David, I can tell I'm in trouble.
You are.
Only
Like-
for that.
No, you just.
My text officer. Well, if you want to give me a 90-second privilege, I won't take any more time.
Okay, thanks. I heard it exactly the way
Welcome
you
once
said it.
again to Gathering Music. There are several songs we're going to be singing during the rest of the day, and we're inviting you to learn them with us. So we'll wait for you to finish your sentence and invite you to turn towards us insofar as you're able.
Like, they asked me for some specific time. I don't.
This is a song that's called Companions in the Way. And we're going to, well, let's sing it and then we'll.
We didn't. I can't admit. Well, we'll find
You'll be invited to sing the refrain.
the debate on this
Yeah. So it goes like this. Come dance Thanksgiving, paint a prayer, let loose the drums of joy. Come pluck a riddle from the lute, bake bread as word raised high. Come sculpt a song to shake, awaken spirits in today. Let word be bread, be strength, be life, befriend us, send us as companions in the way.
If you were at the choir practice at lunchtime, you're an expert in this one. Or if you sing in the Eastminster United Church Choir,
You have a doctorate in. So we sing again. Come, come dance Thanksgiving, paint a prayer, let loose the drums of joy. Come pluck a riddle from the lute, bake bread as word raised high. Come sculpt a song to shake, awaken spirits in today. Let word be bread, be strength, be life, befriend us, send us as companions in the way. Is how it goes. Then from the Salvadorian Mass, there's a Sanctus, Santo, Santo, Santo. And you'll see that we'll mix Spanish and English in it. And it goes like this. Santo, 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 holy, holy is our God. Santo, 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 holy, holy is our God. Santo, 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 holy, holy is our God. Santo, 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 holy, holy is our God. Let's do that again. We'll back up to the chorus. Thank you. 1, 2. Santo, 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 holy, holy is our God. Santo, 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 holy, holy is our God. Santo, 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 holy, holy is our God. Santo, 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 holy, holy is our God. You accompany your people, you live within our struggles of all the earth and heaven, the one and only God. Blessed are those who in the Lord's name announce the holy gospel, God's word of liberation. Come share the joyful news. La 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 la. La 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 la. Santo, 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 holy, holy is Santo, 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 holy, holy is our God. Santo, 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 holy, holy is our God. So those are two critical pieces of information, musically speaking, for the rest of the afternoon. Then we invite you to sing this hymn, Lead On, O Cloud of Presence.
We'll do this one by rote. It's going to be sung this evening as well at the service. And we did it yesterday, so I think we'll be expert today.
Hamba natim hululuetu, hamba natim hululuetu, hamba natim hululuetu, hamba natim hululuetu, kululu, kululu, kululuetu, kululu, kululu, kululuetu, kululu, kululu, kululuetu, kululu, kululu, kululuetu. Come walk with us, the journey is long. 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 The journey, the journey, 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 the journey is long. Listen to us, our sorrow is great. 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 Our sorrow, our sorrow, 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 our sorrow is great. Come talk with us, you tell us the truth. Come talk with us, you tell us the truth. Come talk with us, you tell us the truth. Come talk with us, you tell us the truth. You tell us, you tell us, you tell us the truth. You tell us, you tell us, you tell us the truth. You tell us, you tell us, you tell us the truth. You tell us, you tell us, you tell us the truth. Come stay with us, the darkness is near. 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 The darkness, the darkness, 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 the darkness is near. You walk with us to freedom you lead. 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 To freedom you lead. To freedom, to freedom you lead. To freedom you lead. To freedom, to freedom you lead. To freedom you lead. To freedom, to freedom you lead. To freedom, to freedom, to freedom you lead. To freedom, to freedom, to freedom you lead. To freedom you lead. To freedom, to freedom you lead. To freedom you lead. To freedom, to freedom you lead. To freedom, to freedom, to freedom you lead.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. We're going to turn now to our business, as you'll find in your schedule, dealing with the affirming ministry discussion and vote, proposal number 3. The proposal you will find on page 81. As you know, we spent a great deal of time working in table groups yesterday, and the beauty and the wonder of the parliamentary system says that we should always have a double check of ourselves and make sure that you feel that you have your say. And in order to attempt to make that inclusive of everyone, so that everyone who feels that they have their voice heard, we've tried a couple of different methods. One is working in table groups, and the other is the process that I'm just about to lead you through, where we asked you for comments about our visioning statement and about this proposal specifically, and we are now presenting those back to you. There is a sheet on your table that I'll direct you to read in a few moments, but first I need you to just listen for a moment. And here's what I think from those. Here's my summary of this. And the first was that those things fell into a couple of different categories. And first of all, I'm just talking about the yellow sheets that dealt with the yellow vision statement. That's what I'm going to talk about, and I'll ask David in a moment to talk about the blue sheets that talked about the plan of action. We had some folks question the wording that specifically says sexual orientation and gender identity. And a number of people proposed different things that might be there, other ways of saying that perhaps would broaden that view. And we need you to know that the reason that specific phrase is there is because it needs to be there in order to meet what a firm asks us to do as part of a vision statement. And so that's why those words are specifically there. It's not that we're not saying that we're not talking about other things as well, but we need to say that, okay? And that's why they're there. The second thing that we heard was a concern for the rest of that last sentence, where it talks about the word marginalized. And there was a concern for the word marginalized, and so we have heard that people wonder if that word itself needs to be changed. And we both heard that some think we should expand it to a list, and other people said don't expand it because it's either about one thing or the other. So again, you're either talking about being affirming of sexual orientation and gender identity, or you're talking about a whole bunch of other stuff and that they don't belong in the same thing. It was the intent of the executive that marginalized would cover that expansion. And we did that, we used that word, knowing that we could never find a full list. And so that's where we've come up with it. So I'm proposing to you that we accept the vision statement as it's there, and that if you didn't hear, and to live with it, and to live into it, and to become the people we want to be by walking on that journey, because journeys aren't about where you get to, it's about who you became when you're trying to get there, right? And we didn't hear enough clarity to redraft it. We think that you are content with it. And so what we're proposing to you is that phase 1 would be to pass this statement today. Phase 2 then would be to try to live that statement out and to get us to where we would like to be. And then when everybody in the world feels included in our circles of love, then we know we have achieved our end state. And I say that, but I mean that, right? Like, to realize that we could never in words encapture what we want to do, but we also recognize that we need to start. And we're proposing to you that this is where we start. I'm going to ask David to talk about the plan of action stuff, because everything you wrote on the blue sheets are about the plan of action, and then I'm going to ask you to do one more thing.
Okay, so the plan of action, we've received actually a lot of comments on that, and so thank you for that. In the comments, there was a really wide variety of items. Some of them were really on topic, and some of them were really off topic, but there was lots of comments there. So, for example, we had things like making sure that we do something around the website. Then one of the sheets here has about 10 different very specific suggestions. So you know, it went from that to extremely broad. There was one comment that I thought was really helpful, because some of the questions were about, so what's going to happen with this? Well, if we don't pass the motion to becoming affirming ministry, nothing is going to happen with it, because there won't be a plan of action to go along with it. But you know, people were wondering what's going to happen, and the comment that someone wrote down is that this is an ongoing process that needs to be revisited regularly and adjusted as new welcoming strategies are identified. And that really does capture the intent behind the plan of action and asking you to receive it for information. Because we recognize that a plan of action is only good for right now, and new ideas will come along. They will come along. And so that's why we're not asking you to approve a nailed-down plan of action, because then it would become more like a straitjacket rather than something that would be open for other things. A question was asked about who's going to make sure that this happens, and so in the motion, it talks about how the executive and the executive secretary will be responsible for implementing this and reporting on an annual basis. And so if it is approved, what will happen is that at the 2018 annual meeting, you'll receive a report from the executive and myself about how we've attempted to implement the plan of action, which will, over time, change from time to time. Now, we have not provided you with a full list of all the comments right now, because we don't know yet whether you want to approve the entire package of becoming an affirming ministry. But if that motion does pass, then all of the comments will be compiled, and they'll be put on the conference's website, and they'll all go to the June 19th meeting of the conference executive. But you'll have an opportunity to see them online before any decisions are made. But it'll give you an idea of the breadth of the comments and the specifics that were included in there. So thank you for your work on that. It's extremely helpful.
Okay, so I am again asking you to read the sheet of paper, the comments on the vision statement. You will notice once in a while there's a marker, and the marker just denotes when there was that's all of the comments from one page. right, from one piece of paper. And so the marker just lets you know we're now onto a different one. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to do that. An asterisk. It's an asterisk, apparently. It's an asterisk. Then I'm going to give you 10 minutes to do that. Just read it over and make sure you feel comfortable that what I told you I thought I read there was what you think you read. At the end of that 10 minutes, I'm going to ask you if you are warm or cool to the idea of discussing the word marginalized. So either you want to keep it or you don't. So 10 minutes. We didn't forget anything.
Yeah, I think so, because if, that was clearly the only word that was a significant problem for some. And so let's get that one figured out, and if there's a change, then we'll make that change. And then we'll do without doing an amendment.
So when I
Discussing. Remember, they pulled up whichever one they wanted.
Yes.
Needs to be expanded.
think that's 10 minutes. I think that is 10 minutes, if I can draw your attention back. I think I might have said silent reading there, my friends. But I'm glad that you're still discussing this, and I hope that you have sorted some things out. At this time, I need some direction, and so I would ask you to get out your warm, cool cards, the greatest cards in the world, most misunderstood cards in the world. Okay, and here's what I need you to do. If you're warm, you're discussing it, right?
That's what we're asking.
Yes, okay. Right now, I just want to talk about the word marginalized. I don't want to talk about the whole proposal or anything. I just want to, we're going to focus on this word, and then we'll introduce the proposal when we're done here. If you are warm to the idea of discussing the word marginalized, then you put this card up. And if you're cool to it, then you put this one up. I just need to check how people are feeling. This would be to discuss the word marginalized, because what I heard was that everybody was okay with everything else. So please do so at this time, one or the other, at the same time. Oh, great.
Okay. That's what we need to discuss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the idea of these cards is that if it's not clear, then we do need to discuss that, okay? If you felt that you needed to discuss the word marginalized, to the view of obviously perhaps changing it, I would invite you to come to a microphone. If you need a microphone brought to you, then please raise your hand. If I'm not seeing your raised hand, ask the people around you to raise their hands too, so that I can have one directed towards you, or that someone else can. So please do so. Please remember when you're coming to the mic, you have 90 seconds to speak, and to identify who you are. I think you can take it off of there, yes. To identify who you are as you, so microphone number 2.
Okay, so Kirsty Hunter, Minising United Church. I need to preface this by saying that I'm actually in favor of redoing the vision statement at this time. I think we could do it, but maybe it'd be better just to pass it in its current form and then revisit it as part of the constant process. But leaving that aside, we've done it. So the edit would be to move the statement committing itself to the Spirit to the start, and it would read thusly. Committing itself to being open to the Spirit and striving to be faithful followers of Jesus in our time and place, Toronto Conference will continue to remove barriers to participation in the life and work of the conference and society. Resisting all forms of oppression, we welcome and celebrate people of any sexual orientation and gender identity, embracing all that people are when they come through our doors.
Okay. Microphone number 1.
Terry Davis, Richmond Hill United. When we became affirming the first meeting we had, we said we need to go beyond LGBTQ, and we created our vision statement right at that point, which held up through. It's longer than I think we will want here, but the principles are what I think might be worthwhile. So I just want to leave one part of it. Inclusion and justice for all people, regardless of race, culture, sexual orientation, gender identity, age, ability, economic circumstance, or any other difference that has led to exclusion, marginalization, or oppression within the church or society.
Okay.
And that may be longer than we need, but I think marginalization is too short and, in my view, is a negative statement, and the differences that we're talking about sometimes are not negative.
Thank you. Microphone number 2.
Barry Reeder from Jane Finch Community Ministry. I would support as far as that longer list if you're wanting to go that way. If you're wanting to just keep it as far as kind of including that but not naming those other things, then I would support the name marginalized. I've heard some people saying it's a negative word. In my community and the larger part of Toronto, we do a lot of work, and used to we called it working with youth at risk, and we've changed that now, and we talk about marginalized youth instead. So I think that marginalized is an appropriate word to be used if you're planning it, that's all inclusive of those things. but for more clarity, it might be better to end up include that. Or go with approving this, and like the other speaker said, we can adapt it later.
Thank you. Microphone number 1.
Kayla Monroe, Toronto Southeast Presbytery. My table just had a question of clarification in regards to the writing of the vision statement and if the National Affirming Ministries committee and group was consulted in the writing and where the initial wording came from before we try and go and change all of it.
Okay, I'm going to get David to answer that.
Yeah, part of the process of writing a vision statement like that is that it's one of the required documents for the Affirming Ministry program. One of the things that Affirm requests is that they get a chance to see the draft of the vision statement before it's actually put to a vote, like we're doing today. So that's happened. They were satisfied with what they saw, and what happened was that the conference executive has worked on this on at least 3 different occasions. We put it on the web, had it translated into a number of languages, and received a lot of feedback, a lot of good feedback. And so what you see now, especially around the plan of action, looks very different to what was originally being proposed. The mission statement, the vision statement itself, really had minor changes, but so that's the process that we went through, and that was the role that Affirm played in it.
Thank you. Okay, sorry. Microphone number 2.
Chris Paget, Northern Waters Presbytery. I'm actually for the use of I'm for the use of the word marginalized. The one point it said the more appropriate word may be minority. With the focus of low income, sadly, being lower income is no longer much of a minority, but rather a rather large proportion of society. And to use the word minority would actually, to me, feel like you're excluding those of lower income. I've had a few experiences where we haven't been welcome in many places due to our amount of income. And that can really damper people from going to places. So I would much rather see the word marginalized, as it represents those being cast aside in society. Thank you.
Microphone number 1.
Steve Lois, Southwest Presbytery. Marginalized, I just kind of looked it up on Google, and it says to treat as insignificant or peripheral, sideline, trivialize, isolate, cut off, shut out, disenfranchise, alienate, estrange, discriminate against. So I am for the use of this word.
Thank you.
Okay, so now that we've had that conversation, we'll just look at the vision statement itself. Okay. And then if anyone wants to move an amendment, they can do that.
Okay, thank you for all of that discussion. What we're going to do now is we're going to have the proposal put on the floor. We need it to be, it starts on page 81, and if anybody still feels strongly about making those changes, we're going to follow that normal, wonderful parliamentary process of amendments and wonderful things like that. So I do need someone to make this motion and to second it.
I will second it.
Who are you? Are you moving it?
What?
You, okay, you're going to move it. So Cynthia O'Connell will be the mover, and I need a seconder. Martha Wood will second. Okay, so this is a long proposal. We have number 1, 2, and 3. 1 becoming the motion that Toronto Conference become an affirming ministry within the United Church of Canada, approve the vision statement found in PTC number 3, proposal of Toronto Conference, and receive for information the plan of action. Floor is open for discussion. Microphone number 2.
So I would like to voice my opposition to the vision statement as it's written. There are many social justice issues.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I don't know who you are.
George Isaac.
Okay,
Living
thank you.
Waters.
And we need the time.
And I just need just a second because we need to have our timer up. We're trying to switch back and forth. Don't start till you see it, and it'll start when you start. And you don't have to say your name again, but thank you.
Wasting time.
There is no wasted time, just the time we need.
I would like to voice my opposition to the vision statement as it's written. There are many social justice issues that demand the attention of the church. The gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender folks amount to about 3.5% of our population, according to Stats Canada. So they're a relatively small part of our population. For comparison, about 4% of Canada's population has an Aboriginal identity. About 1 in 8 Canadians struggle to put food on the table, and 1 in 7 children live in poverty. By the time Canadians reach 40 years of age, 1 in 2 have had or have a mental illness. More than a third of Canadians have suffered child abuse. Drug and alcohol problems are rampant in our society. Our world is in crisis because of climate change and pollution problems threatening our very survival. Wars and terror are killing many people around the world, with the refugee crisis growing. But the only item specifically mentioned in the proposed vision statement relates to sexual orientation and gender identity. This is not right. The phrase "we welcome and celebrate people of any sexual orientation and gender identity, and those who are marginalized," basically puts all problems related to individuals subservient to sexual orientation and gender identity. This is a form of discrimination in itself. It is insulting to those with other problems. Thank you.
Thank you. I am recognizing that I did already hear the word question called, but I also am recognizing that not everyone is able to quickly get up for microphones and things. So I was trying to allow for that. Just so that you know. For microphone number 2.
Chelsea Skeens, Living Waters Presbytery. When we are thinking about affirming ministries and who we are including and not including, it is relevant to definitely think about who we are including and who we're not including, and statistics and all that good stuff, but to also keep in mind that some of these populations won't identify themselves. So when we are thinking about who might be in our communities, that sometimes numbers don't speak to who might be in our midst. So that's just something to that I try to keep in mind when I'm thinking about this.
Microphone number 1.
Norm Seeley, Toronto Southeast. I'm in favor of the motion because I think it's wise to go ahead even if it's imperfect. And I think it is imperfect, but we can work towards it, and it's time to stop talking and to start doing. However, I have a caution and a concern that we create a false expectation. And when a community claims to be affirming but don't live it out, we can do great damage to those who come expecting to be welcomed and invited in. So it's with that caution and that concern I support the motion.
Microphone number 2.
Hi, Sarah Miller from Toronto Southeast. I would, Norm has really said what, a lot of what I wanted to say. It was around the importance of a community who names itself as affirming or as welcoming of people, regardless of ethnicity, disability, the many other intersections of life that we are looking at naming or not naming. And we've done the work, lots of conversation around affirming. We've had some conversation around other areas of marginalization, but I don't think we've dug into that work. And the National Affirm Committee has named the importance of acknowledging limitations. So Affirm is a body designated to do specific work around sexual orientation and gender identity. And they encourage congregations when they go through the affirming process to do other work, but not to add on to their statement other areas where we may not have engaged, we may not have done the work necessary, and we may do, as Norm is cautioning us, a disservice to people by saying, we welcome you, regardless of all of these things, when we haven't engaged, we haven't dug in to see what does that really mean. Thanks.
Microphone number 1.
Brianne Swan, Living Presence Ministry, Living Waters Presbytery. To the comment about there are so many social justice issues going on, to that I would say yes, absolutely. And this is not turning our backs on that. However, with the exception of Indigenous populations, no other population that you have listed has been so explicitly discriminated against by the church. And because of that, I would say it is our duty to be explicit to the LGBTQ community, specifically because of that. And because it is us making a statement that differentiates ourselves from other church denominations, because in the wider society, when people see church, they think Billy Graham. They think what they see at Trump rallies. And this is our opportunity to differentiate ourselves from that.
Microphone number 2.
Quincy Latondra, Southeast Toronto. I agree with the motion about becoming affirming. The only problem that, regarding other issues that we face currently is society, we have a hard time with change. And I mean, the United Church is definitely really progressive in terms of what we do in the religious community. But the problem is if we try to put all of these social issues into